blue on the head too. Magnificent. And then of course a European bee-eater there. Very golden back, lovely yellow and green, and the first evidence you have of them is when you hear them above you going choop 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 choop, and they're high up in the air. And what insects they find up there, but they're picking insects out of the air the whole time. Beautiful, beautiful birds are the bee-eaters. So Mike, those are the two that I'm looking forward to seeing the most. I'm a little bit kind of, shall we say, have mixed feelings about the woodland kingfisher. And as I've said to a few of you before, I used to work at a place called Ngala just north of us, and that's in the heart of a Mopani forest. And Mopani, because of a bracket fungus, often tends to have a very hollow heartwood, and the woodland kingfisher likes to live in or nest in tree holes. And because of the proliferation of holes in the Mopani forest, the number of woodland kingfishers was astonishing. And so their call of chip, which is very pleasant in the distance, at the end of the summer became something fairly sort of painful. We used to quite look forward to their departure during the winter months when we were living up north at Ngala. Lovely, lovely sounds of the birds. Just a couple of subtle changes from when I was here last. What I can hear a few more southern boo-boos calling a little duet, and just a lot more noise, a lot more busyness about the place. I'm also looking
Welcome back, everybody, and I'm told James has been discussing birds with you, a lot of which are the migratory birds. The kingfisher that you can see on the top of the screen is not a migratory bird. Bryan just zoomed out there because there's a red-billed buffalo weaver which has just arrived with some more nesting material. Big twig, there it is, that it's going to position in this large apartment block, you could call it. Anyway, this kingfisher is not the kingfisher that James is hoping to have returned just yet. It's a cousin who actually doesn't migrate. This is called a pied kingfisher. And interestingly, the kingfishers that migrate actually don't rely on water. It's the grey-headed, the pygmy, and the woodland kingfisher, none of which are fish-eating kingfishers, so their name can be misleading. The one that we can see here is a male pied kingfisher, but he also doesn't seem too interested in fishing just yet, but that may change as things warm up. Now, during our Buffelshoek stakeout, Bryan and I have decided to do a few challenges, one of which is capturing a good flying shots of one of these red-billed buffalo weavers returning to the nest site with a large twig, which Jess and Kirsty will hopefully be able to slow down into slow motion. I've just seen a black-headed oriole flying off with nesting material. Sadly it's flown quite far and I couldn't see actually where it landed, but that's interesting. There's black-headed orioles making nests nearby. Well, thanks very much, Mary, for Bryan and myself's new alias. We are now Detective Joubert and Dyson, fine-tuning and fine-combing, rather, the intricacies of this waterhole. and the potential crimes that may play out here in the next hour or so. We're going to be able to see quite a few different bird species as the morning unfolds. There was a golden-breasted bunting while you were gone. A brief view of one. Really pretty birds. And thanks very much to all of you who are sending in positive feedback regarding this stakeout. The latest one has come through from Tucson, Arizona, from Mars. And you're right, it is nice just to stop and let nature unfold around you rather than permanently driving around in search of something, which so often ends up in finding nothing. So I think this is a good option. There's not much water around. And let's just see what happens around us here this morning. Bryan spotted a Burchell starling now. That's another bird that we haven't seen yet here this morning. And now I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for any red-billed buffalo weavers returning to this nest with heavy cargo. Incredibly powerful birds and extremely industrious. They can return back to the nest every couple of minutes with a new branch to add to their nest. I'm not sure how it works in terms of freeloaders within the red-billed buffalo society, because Bryan's now found, I think it's a bateleur soaring off in the distance. You can see how it's teetering from side to side, and that's because they've got a very short tail, making it difficult for them to balance. The head also dangles down more so than other predatory birds when flying. All spotted there, Bryan. I mean, Detective Djuma.
Oh, thank you, Detective Dyson.
Now, another thing that Bryan and I have been discussing while you were away with James is that we are not convinced that this hippo is the same hippo that always returns to this waterhole. And take a close look at its back and you'll see why we think that. Now, as far as I remember the last time I was here, the hippo in this waterhole had a very scratched and scarred back. But look at this one. I don't see any very deep incisions or clear scars. So maybe that'll be a good way to help us know whether it's the same hippo we're seeing here or a different one. I personally feel there's at least two of them, because like I said, the last one that I saw had an incredibly lacerated back, as hippos often will have from fighting. Well, this one seems like it's in good nick. Okay, Bryan, I think it's time to get ready for the red-billed buffalo weavers. I think one's gonna come back at any moment now. And it's just going to require a little bit of patience for all of us. Because we can't tell exactly when they are going to return with a large branch. They often use quite spiny, thorny branches, which bind together with one another very well, creating a solid structure. Ooh, Bryan, there's this little sunbird glistening. It's just on the bank here. You got it there? There we go. Okay, zoom into the green bush at 10 o'clock. Just on the bank? Yeah, it's in there. Perfect. Beautiful. Let's hope it jumps up and you'll see how it iridesces. Oh! She gone. But it could come back. Now I'm going to have to... Well done, Bryan. And I'm going to have to now get my book out because I'm not sure exactly which one that was. I didn't get a good look at it. If any of you guys did get a good look at it and have any suggestions as to what sunbird you think that could be, please let us know. Now, I would guess that it's a Mariko sunbird. But interestingly enough, Brent not so long ago positively identified a purple banded sunbird in this area, which technically should not be here. So it could have been a purple banded, I think is the name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick picture in the book. Oh, as we came here, there was a red-billed buffalo weaver that arrived with a branch into the nest, but we'll get it eventually. So this is who I think it was. It can't really be mistaken with any of the other sunbirds on this page. The only other dark ones are very black in color and are at the top of the page, the scarlet-chested sunbird and the amethyst, which are also a bit larger than the Mariko. But aren't they such wonderful birds? But it's important to remember that they only iridesce these bright colors when the sunshine connects at the right angle. So, good, that's another bird for the list this morning. There's another interesting bird that's just popped onto the branch at 9 o'clock there, Brian, called a southern black tit. Black in color with white wings. This area really does produce some incredible birding. The two black-headed orioles that flew past earlier have flown back again on that same flight path towards wherever they are nesting. I'm trying to work out where exactly it is, but it's too far behind us, but worth keeping note of. And if we weren't stuck in this one spot, we wouldn't be noticing all these little interesting things that are going on. Brian's now spotted a Cape turtle dove coming down for a drink. Nerve-wracking business taking a drink at the waterhole for prey species of all different types. Oh, interestingly, Craig is trying to call me. I wonder what that could be for. Let me just chat with him quickly. Go ahead, Craig. Ah, not too bad. There's some red-billed buffalo weavers building a nest at Buffelshoek Dam. That's what I'm doing. Other than that, not too much. Yes, I am here, and I do not plan on leaving. Coffee, thanks. Shame we've interrupted Craig's potential picnic site for a coffee break, but I don't feel bad at all because he has got plenty of land to traverse, unlike us. So there are many different spots that he can go to, and he's been having a wonderful morning, seeing lots of things, whereas we haven't. So he's going to go somewhere else for coffee. Come on, Kingfisher. Well, we're going to stay here. We're going to stick with our stakeout plan for now and send you across to James for a change of scenery, and hopefully we'll have some new visitors when you come back.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the streaming herds of wildebeest as they migrate across the plains that are the southern ends of quarantine clearings to which we have returned. We have gone a full circle, as it were, and there's a really nice herd of wildebeest here. I think an extremely underrated animal here. I think mistakenly called the stupidest animal in the bush. Yes, they don't look particularly stupid, but how many people do you know that look stupid but are in fact geniuses? Whether the wildebeest constitutes some form of bush genius, I couldn't tell you, but I don't think they're particularly thick at all. I think they're pretty good looking. And they've all come out into the open because it's so windy, I think, and so they've got nice grazing grass to eat in the open on these sort of soda clearings, and they've also got a lot of space. That means they can see if anything is coming to get them. Now today it would seem that there is nothing that might threaten the livelihood of a wildebeest on this property. We have driven around, looked for tracks of cats and dogs that might like to sup upon wildebeest, but we haven't found any tracks yet, so we're just going to enjoy the prey species rather than the predators themselves. They'll lie there and just ruminate on the day's goings on, literally in their minds, and at least literally in their stomachs, and figuratively in their minds. You can see that one there is chewing, clearly re-chewing his breakfast. And as I always like to say, especially in front of old Wium, who does eat an astonishing amount for somebody with such a small frame, I'm always most relieved that I only have to chew my breakfast once. Wium, would you support that notion?
It'd be nice if we shout again.
Would it?
Instead of sitting here in your...
Okay, fair enough. There's no accounting for some people, as I say. So not a hugely common antelope around this area, or bovid if you like, and that's because the habitat, as you can see where they're sitting now, so many of you have been driving around with us for a long time. There are not huge clearings around Djuma and Arathusa. In fact, in much of the Kruger, we don't get the clearings that you do in East Africa, and that's got a lot to do with soil type and geology, and I also think it has quite a lot to do with human activity in this area over the years, dating way back to when the original hunter-gatherer bushmen were in the area. Of course, the ubiquitous oxpecker, which you can hear calling psh, 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 and knocking about on the wildebeest, eating off the ticks and other ectoparasites. It's a really kind of peaceful, bucolic scene here. So it is quite blustery. You can probably hear the wind blowing through the microphone, and that's because there's a bit of a front coming through, and I'm quite relieved about that, I must say, given how hot apparently it has been. Now the cows here will also probably be pregnant. They will drop their calves round about the same time that the impala drop their lambs, and that'll be sort of early December, end of November, so very soon. I'm going to sneak a little bit forward, because not only do we have wildebeest here, Wium said we couldn't do this twice, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're quite close to where we first started off. And that old giraffe bull who was heading down towards Djuma Dam that we opened with today is back here. He's hanging about with the wildebeest. And I think he's probably using them for their safety, as well as, I guess he just enjoys this particular area. There's obviously lots for him to eat. So, very interesting question here about wildebeest. And that comes from Sibusiso in Hammanskraal, who asks a number of very good questions. Sibusiso, you want to know, is it possible to crossbreed a blue and a black wildebeest? So for those of you who don't know, there are two kinds of wildebeest that we get here, the black and the blue. The blue is in fact not blue at all, but a sort of greyish black colour, and the black wildebeest is in fact exactly the same colour, but it has a white tail. I'm just going to try and find you a picture of both so you can get an idea. Now, Sibusiso, you want to know if they are able to crossbreed with each other. The answer, as far as I understand it, is probably not. They come from the same genus. All right, no, I don't have a picture of a black one, I'm afraid. I've only got a picture of a blue one with me. But they come from the same genus, and that's Connochates. And it is therefore possible that they could maybe interbreed. I don't think, in fact, I'm 99% sure that they wouldn't produce a viable offspring. That means that the offspring would be like a mule. It would be unable to breed itself, so it would be sterile. But they do come from the same genus, so it's possible that they could interbreed. You find generally, though, Sibusiso, that their ranges don't overlap hugely. The black wildebeest tends to be a high-veld species, occurs much more on the high-veld and in towards the Kalahari, into the semi-desert areas. And the blue wildebeest is probably a bit more water-dependent and spends more time in the low-veld or low-lying areas and down in towards, what have you got there, Wium? A large bird, which I cannot identify from here. It's definitely not a batelier. So, Sibusiso, I don't think that there's any kind of interbreeding between the two. And you say, is interbreeding good or bad? Well, I don't think you can really put a what is that bird? That's huge. I don't think you can say whether it's good or bad, Sibusiso, but to say that it's probably not viable. Look at that lovely shot of the bird flying over the giraffe's head. I did see an adult. Oh, can you hear that? Have you heard them before?
What? Yeah.
Have you heard them in the last 2 weeks?
No, that's not noticed them.
That's a red-chested cuckoo, everybody.
My throat.
Oh, it's such a lovely sound. Cool.
Beat my throat.
Yeah. Now, in Afrikaans, it's called a piet my vrou. Because it says, yeah?
Beat my throat.
Piet my vrou. Piet vrou, which means what? It means Peter, my wife.
No, it means tweet my
Tweet.
wife.
Ah, tweet my wife. Okay. Beautiful. So the red-chested cuckoo is one of the cuckoo species that we get here. Migratory bird, obviously just arrived back now. That is a Wahlberg, so that's that pale form Wahlberg's eagle. But I've just seen it fly over again, that Wium spotted earlier. Piet my vrou, red-chested cuckoo, and I'm just going to quickly find out what they parasitize. So for those of you who perhaps new to ornithology, a cuckoo of course does not build its own nest. They use the nest of other birds, and I'm just going to quickly go along to check the red-chested cuckoo. There is the red-chested cuckoo there, and unsurprisingly has a red chest. Well, not red so much as chestnut. There you go. And it says here that they call from a high tree. Yes, that's quite obvious. And what parasitizes mostly robins. Now, a white-browed scrub robin, which this would parasitize, is about, if you look at my fingers, a white-browed scrub robin is probably about that big, and the red-chested cuckoo is about 2 or 3 times that size. So, that poor, if you happen to be a robin that is parasitized by one of these things, must be extremely difficult to raise an offspring that is 3 times the size of what you were expecting. So that's the red-chested cuckoo, and I got so excited because it's such a quintessential sound for me of the low-veld the sort of greenness of the rivers and the low-felt summer. And I remember when I had to leave the bush, when I did leave the bush a little while back, and I went back to the city, whenever I heard that bird, I was immediately transported back to my days walking along the Sand River and going for evening runs along the Sand River, just near at Londolozi, and hearing that bird and being so profoundly kind of filled with a sense of peace as I trotted along the river in the evening. So I'm very excited to hear that it's here. It's the first one I've heard in the bush, of course, for the last long while. Very nice. Right. Okay, Wium, shall we press on?
Since the wildebeest is ready.
Yeah, since the wildebeest have migrated away. On we go. We're going to head towards where Scott and Aubrey had those lion tracks earlier this morning. I know they haven't been successful. I don't think that's any dispersion on them. That block is extremely difficult. So we'll just take a chance and drive past there and see if we can't pick anything up. There are some more impala in front of us. All of these ewes are now very pregnant, of course. I just can't believe how green it's got so suddenly. It's wonderful. Oh, look. Two little warthogs. One of them is missing a tail.
He's, well,
It's just a floppy tail. Yeah. Right. I must say, the warthogs at Djuma don't tend to be particularly confiding. They tend to fly away quite a lot. Leave us be. There are two raptors up there, Wium. Shall we try and have a look and see if we can get them? Two birds of prey flying into the wind, so they're relatively still. I think those are two Wahlberg's eagles. But I could be wrong. They've got very thin tails. Yes, they are Wahlberg's. Wahlberg's eagles. The best way to identify a Wahlberg's eagle, if you're looking at it at that sort of distance, is from the width of the tail. They've got very narrow tails, and they tend to be, the best way to describe it is that they are like a flying cross. They don't have a splayed tail nearly as much as something like a tawny eagle might. And you could confuse the two of them at this sort of distance. Of course, also, it's going to get a lot more complicated into the summer, as there are, in winter there's only one brown eagle here, and that's the tawny eagle. Now, we've got Wahlbergs, of course. There's the lesser spotted eagle, on which you will see no spots at all. There is also the steppe eagle, which is a much bigger eagle, but also difficult to tell at a distance. And then they've all got different colour morphs, which confuses the whole thing entirely as well. Sometimes also booted eagle, but they tend to be a bit more obviously coloured. And then an interesting question, and I think probably quite a good idea, perhaps this afternoon. Well, we should go do it now, seeing as there's not much else going on out here, and it's starting to get quite hot. I have the tiger. You want to know about the flower, or the orchid, that I planted at the Djuma Dam a while back, hoping that it would bloom. I did check it just before I left, and nothing had happened. So I tell you what, we'll pop down there, and we'll see if we can't spot any kind of change It's at the Djuma Dam, just down to the right of us now. I suspect that I have not planted it in a particularly good place, and I'm a bit worried that it's not going to grow at all. But let's go and have a look. I need to do a little bit of research onto the best way to propagate a leopard orchid. Yeah, it's definitely getting quite warm, wouldn't you say, Wium? That was quite impressive as well, wasn't it, Wium? Yeah. Weren't you amazed? I learned that in Holland, exactly. I learned that in London, yeah. It's all the rage to drive and take your clothes off at the same time. It's also amazing, of course, the English, one comes to appreciate how they came to dominate so much of the world. They're not afraid of the weather. They tend to, I spent a bit of time in Cornwall, of course, and the average temperature there was probably 16 degrees, 61 Fahrenheit. For them, that's like balmy summer weather. There were people frolicking in the waves continuously. It's a coastal city. While I was wrapped up in a scarf, a beanie, and 2 jackets, the English, of course, were leaping about in the waves, frolicking as if it were a summer's day out here. And I came to realize how they just make do, basically. Not surprising that they came to travel around half the world, braving malaria and tropical disease, heat, cold, and all the rest in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. No self-respecting South African would have been anywhere near the water. That said, I was prevailed upon to go for a swim on 2 mornings, which I did, but I was covered in a very thick wetsuit, which made an enormous difference. Aye! Oh, Mama Z! Na opa minjani kwala? Ako nathi bonjis. Nibuyile, nditsakile kumvona. Yeah. Okay. That, everybody, is Zodwa and Opa. Opa is the mechanic who I believe actually made it. That's his second camera. I'm not sure that Zodwa knew she was live there, but I shall tell her later. She will then cover her mouth. She'll go, eh, eh. And that will be very amusing for all of us in camp. Zodwa helps us with various different bits and pieces around the camp, and she's just walking between the DRC and Inga's house. They're not actually deeply in the wild at the moment, just right next to where the final control is. As Wium says, Zodwa keeps his life in order. Zodwa does that for all of us, except Brent Leo Smith, of course, and you would need a team of organizers, the likes of which put the Apollo 11 on the moon in order to organize Brent Leo Smith's life. Right, we're approaching the Djuma Dam. Let's go and have a look. And perhaps for those of you who are new viewers, and we do like to hear from you, hashtag Safari Live, questions at wildearth.tv. The language I was speaking is called Shangaan, and that's the most commonly spoken language in this particular area. Right, I'm going to park on this sort of headland, if you like. Now, I'm unplugged. I will attempt not to damage myself by falling off this tree. Okay. So the leopard orchid is in this hole over here. There seems to be a little bit of an emergence from it, but nothing that I would say constitutes any kind of sort of growing. What I'll do is I'll take a picture of it with my cell phone. Modern technology is a wonder. And then I shall show it to you. Oh dear. I'd say it's got about a 50% chance at the moment. Yeah, nothing particularly astonishing going on there. And I can smell the beautiful scent of the flowers on this tree here. A very subtly sort of honey type smell. I'm also interested to see that the weavers don't seem to be building here. Ooh, and there's a hibiscus flower. Can you see it? Let me just try and extricate myself. Look at that. You see it there, Liam? Isn't that beautiful? It's a wild hibiscus of some kind. I'm not sure exactly which one. And no smell at all. Alright, let me show you the picture of the leopard orchid. It's not a particularly impressive photo. That's got nothing to do with the machine. It's got entirely to do with the operator. Can you get that there, Liam? Beautiful photograph, of course. But it will not orientate itself. There we go. So that slight discoloration that you can see there, can you see it? No? Too reflective. Okay, sorry everybody. I tell you what, I'll tweet it. I'll tweet that photo later, but basically it's not growing, I don't think. It has split slightly in the middle. There's a sort of slight split in that. It's not a seed, it's sort of pod. And it's not moving, so maybe there's some kind of root system that's starting to establish itself underneath. Anyway, we'll keep watching it. We won't despair just yet. Let's just go up onto the dam wall here and have a look at these flowers. See if I can pick one that's smelling so delicious. Certainly much more delicious than some of the smells that Jigga's making at the moment. So flowers are in this tree here. And again, what I think we've been calling a knobthorn is probably most likely, now that I can see the leaves, a black monkey thorn. A lovely scent of the flowers when the wind gently blows towards them. Now there's one I'll be able to get that one. So you have a look at those and I'll quickly pull one out. Liam, any idea what this is? Any idea?
Was it also growing in the tree?
It wasn't growing in the tree, no. It doesn't smell like a flower. Liam, of course, is very hungry all the time and is now clearly starting to stash food like a squirrel. This is a breakfast bar that Liam has left on the side of the car.
I don't like the breakfast bars very much.
You don't like them very much. Emergency ration. So it's just got a very I've said subtle. It is a subtle smell. It's kind of a, it's of course difficult to describe a smell. Sort of like a very gentle honey smell with a bit of fresh cut grass mixed in. I love it. I think it's one of my my favorite smells of the beginning of the summertime. Here are we. Okay, let's press on. See what else we can see. It is definitely starting to get a little warmer, although it's certainly not hot. There's two birds on the wall in front of us are called Hadida Ibis, and they're onomatopoeically named. In case you're wondering where Scott is, everybody is wondering the same thing. That's of course got nothing to do with Scott, but you're stuck with me for the next little while. We're having a bit of trouble getting hold of him. So those are Hadida ibis, and ibis of course is a sort of universally found bird. I think you find them in the Old World and the New World. This particular one is called a Hadida because of the call that it makes. Would you like to do the call, Wium? That's actually exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, they're afraid of heights. That's what it's screams.
Oh, I see. That's why it is. Very good, Wium. Well done. Wium, of course, we have a very talented cameraman here. Bryan, as many of you will know, is a very talented beatboxer. Wium, of course, when prevailed upon, plays a very nice trumpet through his mouth, and can be heard certainly on the way back from drive in the evenings doing various trumpet voluntaries from around the world, including when Mendelssohn's Wedding March he's quite good at. But maybe one day he'll do that for you on a particularly quiet drive. There, you've possibly heard the Hadida there. It sounded exactly like Wium. So I think what we'll do now is head just around the corner. We will head back vaguely towards where those lion tracks were found early this morning. But we're going to go down towards, through the drainage lines just at the back end of this dam. It's always nice to just head through there at this time of the year, see what new birds there are, see if we can hear anything, and perhaps pick up on the tracks of a leopard. I've noticed while I've been driving around, and I mean, I suppose this might be described as slightly grim, is that the dung of the elephants seems to be a lot greener than it was before, and I'll show you what I mean. That, of course, is simply because their food is a lot greener than it was when I left. We'll do a dung colour comparison. It'll be like fascinating television. Don't you think, Wium? Dung colour comparisons. Wonderful. So we'll go down into the drainage line. We'll stop and we'll have another listen there. See what we can hear. concerned and very kind. A question from Wendy in Nebraska, who's concerned when we drive upon the wall of the dams. You obviously think they're about to collapse, Wendy, and you want to know, do we build them up during the rainy season? No, you don't have to build them up very often. If there's a major flood, obviously, then they can take the dam walls down. But no, that one there will last for a while. It definitely does need some work on the sides. I think from heavy rains that they had 2 years ago, it could do some work. But it's certainly in no danger of collapsing, Wendy. Don't worry about that. The one that I get a little bit nervous on is Treehouse Dam. It's a very kind of narrow wall, but I don't think it's about to collapse. I'm more nervous of my driving skills and a jigger steering box than I am of the wall actually collapsing. We're going to carry on our merry way here. We're going to link across to Scott. They've managed to locate him. He's in southern Mongolia at the moment. We'll go across to him and we'll see what he has to say. In Mongolia, obviously a little bit rougher than we thought. Now just listen carefully. I love that. See if they do it again. It's a pair of them calling. There's the southern lulu. It's a beautiful duet that they call. They've naturally stopped doing it now, of course. Lots of other birds calling now. And one of the most subtle ones that you can possibly hear off to our left-hand side is a hoopoo going boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop. You might not actually hear it in the wind. And lots of orange-breasted bushshrikes going. Southern black tits and chagras and all sorts. Wonderful. Right, on we go. All right, we're going to try again to go across to Scott. He's now in Siberia, and I don't know what's going to happen. See you later.
Welcome back, everyone. And I'm sure a lot of you are bent over in stitches laughing at James, or with James rather. He is a serious character, and I guess a lot of you may not have met him as he's been away for 2 weeks. But good to have him back, as well as his wonderful humor. So Bryan and I are currently in the traumatic stage of dealing with post-alarm call letdown. It's something that we suffer out here from time to time, and basically what happened this morning was we were sitting patiently at the stakeout point, which we've now sadly had to leave due to aliens stealing our signal. And we raced off in the direction of Inyala that were alarm calling, in the hope that we would find a leopard or a lion or some kind of predator that is causing them to alarm call. And after all that excitement, we found nothing. Not a track, not a sign. And that is the trauma that we are now dealing with. The emotional roller coaster of responding to alarm calls only to find nothing. I even mentioned to Bryan that I was willing to gamble with my emotions, and if there had been just one single track on the ground giving us further hope, it would have been useful. And I would have taken that risk to get an idea what they may have been shouting at, but nothing. So sadly we didn't have to gamble with our emotions there, but I did offer them. Anyway, so now Bryan and I are booking into the local councillor in the nearest town, an hour and a half away. We're going to shoot off there for a post-safari counselling session to try and resurrect our spirits for this afternoon. Failing that, we may just stay in Hoedspruit and eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, something we don't get out here, to soothe our bruised emotions. Only kidding, we'll be fine, but that is what happened while you were gone. There was something lurking in this thick vegetation that we could not find for you, but the Inyala certainly did get a fright. Possibly the same Inyala that we actually saw having a drink not so long ago. We've just been tasked with another goal from Sandy in Indiana. Oh, I haven't been concentrating on the monitor, but Bryan's doing a great job on camera, and he has found a vulture soaring almost directly above us. He's got the camera tilted at a crazy angle. Beautiful. Good work, Bryan. Got no idea where the bird is. I'm looking at it through the monitor and then looking up into the sky trying to find it, but can't seem to work out where it is. But that's not a problem because Bryan knows where it is. Ah, there it is. It's an all-aclid, a white-backed vulture, it looks like. And now that it's heating up, the clouds you can see are beginning to dissipate, and it's probably 4/8 cloud cover, half blue sky, half white puffy clouds. But as it does heat up, it's going to make for favorable conditions for these big birds of prey to float above us. Sorry though, Sandy in Indiana, who has tasked us with our next operation, and that is to find a spider, hopefully a baboon spider, which is a family of the tarantulas that you get in America, or part of the same family rather. The tricky thing with baboon spiders is that they are typically in burrows, in round excavations, and you can sometimes lure them out with a blade of grass, kind of like fishing, to the entrance of the burrow, but they seldom come out. So they are tricky to see and show you. But Sandy, we will hopefully be able to find you another type of spider before the end of the show, not necessarily a baboon spider, but maybe another type. Sadly, the golden orb-web spiders aren't out in full force yet, but what we may have to do is settle on a community nest spider, which are more common and easy to find, especially now that the other spiders aren't really out and about yet, or if they are, they're still very small. Sadly, I don't know of any baboon spider holes in this area, but they generally are kind of all over the show. I know of some others in different parts of Djuma, but none here. Otherwise, I would stop and attempt to try and lure one out of its hiding place for you. happy to hear that Suzanne on Twitter eagerly awaits the rest of the WildEarth crew. That is going to be arriving in the next couple of days. And it is indeed exciting times leading up to these two Nat Geo TV broadcasts on the 13th and 14th. There'll be two one-hour shows on the mornings of those 2 days. And it really is going to be good fun to have some of the old faces back in camp. And for you guys, it's going to be a great change of scenery and get to see some new faces and hear some new stories from some of the other team members who spend the majority of their year away from us but come back for the TV broadcasts. And we do have quite a small crew here, so not that there's anything wrong with the small crew that we have. We all get along, actually, not surprisingly well, but we're very fortunate that we do all get along very well, because it's quite an interesting dynamic to work, live, eat and sleep with one another with no escape. But we've got a great team, but it will be great to semi-dilute that team temporarily with some new faces. We will no doubt contribute greatly to the stories around the campfire, as well as the experience we get to share with you over the coming week or so that they'll be here. Let's hope there's more animals around for their arrival. 2 one-hour TV broadcasts with no animals is quite a daunting thought, but a reality. But in the past we've been incredibly lucky, so let's hope that luck continues. Hyena tracks heading down the road in the opposite direction. I think they're heading to the dead hippo, which is on Torchwood. I wasn't sure where it was earlier, whether it was on Buffelshoek to the north of us or Torchwood to the east. And that's where it is, and there's lots of hyena tracks going that way. I'm told there was a hyena bathing in all the blood and juices from that hippo a little bit earlier, which must have been an interesting sight to behold, one that we can only imagine though. Oh, there was a red-billed wood-hooped, but it flew off. Welcome back, everybody, and apologies, we shouldn't be losing signal in that area. Well, got a crackly message over the radio. I couldn't do exactly what it was, but the gist of it was that one of our viewers, ex-Ranga, remembers spending time in their childhood using little sticks and blades of grass to also lure out spiders wherever it was that they grew up. And it's good. I mean, funnel web spiders. There we go. That must have been a lot of fun. I guess the tricky thing that we need to balance up when playing with nature is how much we are actually disturbing the animal, or how much are we learning from any of these interactions. And no doubt putting a blade of grass down any spider's hole is going to give it the false sense of hope that it's caught a meal, just like Bryan and I had the false sense of hope that we may find you a leopard earlier. And there may be ever so slight destruction to the webbing, but I don't think doing it as a kid or doing it every now and then is detrimental to the species. Possibly just a small speed bump in that individual's day. Aha. Very interesting. Will Bryan be able to get the camera there? Yes, he should. Look at this. Home builders. There's a little piece of mud, I think, or is that an insect? No, it looks like a piece of mud, and they're going to be blocking up a large cavity with mud, as well as poop. That could be some poop that she's holding in her beak. I can't really see. Was it an insect? Looks like an insect. Oh, that's a tasty little insect. It looks like a caterpillar of sorts. Now, I'm not sure if they are enjoying the fruits or snacks feeding on this marula tree, or if they are looking at using that cavity as a nesting site. Very pretty birds, the yellow-billed hornbills, comical too. I quite enjoy spending time watching them. Let's see if they're not going to find some more caterpillars that may be having a field day on this marula. You tend to find, oh, slowly, mister. I think we might see, there we go. Look at this. Hornbills making love. Not the smoothest of operations. Wings everywhere and feathers everywhere, but I think the job was done. And that's a first for me. Hornbills in the throes of passion on Safari Live for the first time that I've got to share with you. And that would make sense that they are looking for a new home, because they're going to need somewhere to lay the fertilized eggs that she will hopefully deposit very soon. And then they'll both take care raising these little chicks in a small cavity of a tree, where the male will actually enclose the female into that cavity, where she'll do a full feather molt. Oh, she found another caterpillar, it looked like. Was that he? No ways, did he get... Are they sharing?
Yep.
That is awesome! So he had to give her a little treat to portray how much he is in fact in love with her. Wonderful. As I was saying though, she will be enclosed in the nesting cavity, incubating the eggs, molting her feathers as he brings her food. And once the chicks hatch, she'll stay in there for about another 2 weeks. So it's about a 20-day incubation period, I think, and then about 14 days she'll stay in there. So she'll be in that nest for about a month, do a full feather molt, and then break out when the chicks are big enough and require both parents to go out in search of food to come and feed them through a tiny little coin slot, essentially, that they'll build up with excrement and mud. Well, that was an incredible sighting. So cool to see him pass her that little caterpillar, but it appears like they are now just relaxing, so I think we may continue and leave the lovebirds at peace with one another. Well, it's turning out to be a beautiful day here. I must admit though, I prefer it to be cloudy, because if these clouds continue to disappear, we are in for another sweltering hot afternoon. But I must remember to say that as of tomorrow morning, we will be heading out half an hour earlier, and in the afternoon we will be heading out half an hour later. As of tomorrow, the 7th of October. So tell your friends and make sure we spread the word. We wouldn't want anyone to miss out on any action. And we are changing those times to try and avoid being out during the hotter times of the day when it is generally less productive in terms of game viewing. There's an orange-breasted bushshrike calling ahead of us here, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get a view of it. We're going to try though. There's two of them actually. There you guys. Come on. Ooh. Well, it's somewhere in this. Oh, I've just seen it. It's right on the top in the center of that knobthorn. Perfect. Just bang straight in there, Brian. The one on the right, sorry.
Right.
Not easy when there's two knobthorns. It's somewhere in there. You'll see a little flash of orange potentially as this orange-breasted bushshrike jumps about. I can see it with my binoculars, but it's so hard to see in the monitor. Go down a bit. And oh, you got it. Oh, there we go. Well done, Brian. So right in the center of your screen, there's a orange-breasted bushshrike jumping about. They're incredibly pretty birds. And happy that you got to see a glimpse of it. A good way to finish off this morning's safari.
Nice view.
And Brian's got another nice view of it there. Coffee, tea or me? There's quite a few of them calling. There's this one here and another one on the other side of the road. Beautiful. Good to be able to hear and see the bird calling, as often it doesn't work out that way. But sadly it is time to send you back to Mr. Henry for the last few minutes of the safari. Thanks very much for following and for all your help, sending through questions and comments. Well done to Jess and Kirsten in the final control room, and to Brian, who was on camera with me. Thank you for your patience, and sorry about the post-alarm call trauma that we experienced. We will see you all on the next safari. Over to James.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Giga. I just thought we'd stop here to show you, well, first of all, that this is now opened up very nicely. The clouds are opening, the sun is starting to beat down onto my back, and the tree you're looking at there is a tree that was mentioned, of course, by you, the viewers, who know this property inside and out. That is a sausage tree, Cagelia africana, and I stated categorically that they did not occur here until Jeffrey from Texas said, yes they do, they're just next to the pump house in the drainage line on Philemon's Dip. Well, lo and behold, there it is, the sausage tree, Cagelia africana, so thank you for that, Jeffrey, wherever you are at the moment, probably still in Texas, but I don't know if you're awake or not. So, it's been a very lovely morning, and just to remind you, tomorrow we will change times. Now, I got this a little bit kind of discombobulated this morning. Basically, what's going to happen is that we will move half an hour earlier in the morning. So we're going to kick off at 5:30 tomorrow morning, and half an hour later in the afternoon. So we'll kick off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The drive will still be 3 hours long, as it is normally. And can I ask you that wherever you happen to be in the world, it's very confusing with all the daylight savings and that sort of thing going on. that you work out where we are. We are Central African time, so work out where you are in relation to Central African time, and that will put you pretty much in line with where we are going to be broadcasting. Right, struggling a little bit with the communications, so I'm going to sign off now. It's been a marvellous morning. I must just say a big thank you to Jessica Biffy, of course, who is the director today. I forgot her name slightly this morning, which wasn't very good. Of course, a big thank you to... Sorry, there's a Franklin rustling in the bush behind us. Kirsty also there. Alex also doing some technical stuff. Big thanks to Wium on camera today. Thank you, Wium. And, of course, to Scott and the inimitable and enormous Bryan Joubert on the other vehicle. We haven't seen a great deal of high action today, but it's been so lovely to be back in the Kruger National Park after the sort of totally different atmosphere that is Britain. Not to say that Britain wasn't very beautiful, but it is wonderful to be back in Africa where the trees have gone green, the grass is sprouting, the birds is singing with a great enthusiasm as the summer begins. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of this day, this rest of this early summer day, and I hope that wherever you are in the world, you have a very pleasant time of it. Keep safe and stay warm if you happen to be going into winter. We're going to try and stay cool, and we'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye.